Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, continuing to react to the news that James Franklin is out as Penn State head coach, effective immediately. Terry Smith taking over as interim coach. The university making the announcement right here on Sunday afternoon after Penn State lost its third straight game, falling to Oregon, falling to UCLA, and then on Saturday falling to Northwestern 0-3 in conference play. So Terry Smith leads the Nittany Lions the rest of the way, but who leads the Nittany Lions out of the tunnel in 2026?
I'm going to get this out of the way because this
Mike
is going to
Bobo.
be a tough truth to swallow for Penn State fans. And I know that on the surface, based on everything you know of from college football, it won't make sense. Curt Signetti's not leaving Indiana for Penn State. In 2025, we don't know for a fact that Penn State is a better job than Indiana. Curt Signetti in the last few weeks has more top 10 wins at Indiana than James Franklin has at Penn State. Indiana has had a ton of financial support boosted into that program in recent years. Indiana is having the success that Penn State has been trying to have for years and was not able to have. There is no reason for Curt Signetti to start over and move to Penn State when he's literally got it humming right the hell now at Indiana. He might win the Big Ten at Indiana. He's going to get to the college football playoff. I know that a whole lot of Penn State fans are going to want him, and in a vacuum, you think, well, clearly Penn State's better than Indiana. I don't know that it is. Not in this modern era. Things have changed really quickly. Indiana right now is looking like a very similar job to Penn State. So I would get over that. I do not think you're going to get Signetti from Indiana. I think Indiana will pay him whatever the hell they have to keep him. And I do think he's going to get a raise. So if I am Penn State, I at least float out there that I'm going after him to force Indiana to pay up more. I think the more realistic options that you're going to hear are Matt Rule and Matt Campbell. It's going to be one of the Matts. That is my prediction. I think that Matt Rule, obviously he has the ties to Penn State. Nebraska's off to a 5-1 start. This was not great news for if you're Nebraska. You don't really want to be hearing this right now while things are going well, but Rule's probably going to be distracted over these next couple of weeks. And then Matt Campbell at Iowa State. This is a big job. This is a Midwest job. Like, we've had his name floated for SEC gigs and like West Coast gigs in recent years, but Matt Campbell is an Ohio guy who coaches in Iowa who kind of wants to be in this area of the country. This is one of those jobs that I feel like Matt Campbell would give serious consideration to leaving Iowa State for. And I think Matt Campbell would be a great coach at Penn State. I also think that he would need to help with the recruiting operation because he has not played in those waters at Iowa State. Not to say he hasn't recruited well because he's developed plenty of NFL players, but he hasn't brought in like the 4- and 5-star talent that Penn State's going to be going after. But I think he could do it, and I think he's going to build a great culture, and I think he's a very good coach. So if Penn State ends up with him, I would be thrilled if I'm a Penn State fan. I'd probably be more thrilled with that than Matt Rule.
So is that, if you're going to have the hard talk with Penn State fans about your relationship to Indiana, then that means the follow-up is, are you having a hard talk with Nebraska fans about where you are compared to Penn State?
Yeah, but I think Nebraska fans kind of know that.
Okay.
I think there are some older Nebraska fans who probably still think Nebraska's at the same level, but I think most Nebraska fans at like 45 and under understand the pecking order.
Yeah, and if you're Iowa State, that just might be that would be a tough thing to see go. But man, Matt Campbell's done a lot of good at Iowa State. His track record is it maybe has been transformative. We'll see with whoever would take over again if that even happens. Matt Campbell had power conference interest last season and kind of let it be known that he'd prefer to stay. And but those options weren't Penn State.
No,
so. Things
they're like little rinky-dink North Carolina. You know, he wants a real program.
Yeah, there's where Penn State fits among the top 5 and top 10 sort of jobs available or jobs overall. Whenever you try to rank a college football job, I'll tell you one thing: it is the best job that is available right now. And in terms of trying to think about that, like you mentioned Curt Signetti, and you mentioned you go after him. You want to know why you go after Curt Signetti? Not because, he's got some area ties in Pennsylvania. No, you go after him because he's one of the best coaches around right now. And if you're Penn State and you are the best job available, you go and you make these people say no. So yeah, of course you give Curt Signetti a call. So I tend to lean with you. somewhere with the Matt Rule emotion, the vibes. I could see it going, because this is a group. This is a group that needs some positive vibes. Our poor Penn State fans. They were riding so high. They had the Eagles. They were in the Final Four of the playoff. Tough crash out. Tough. Who else, if you're a head coach, are you hoping the search gets to you realistically?
I mean, like, to use it for a raise, or because you're interested in the gig?
Oh, because you would love to be interviewed. Because if the search came to you, you'd be like, yeah. Because if all coaches have egos, all coaches would think, I mean, you give me Penn State, I can go win.
I mean, I think of like current sitting head coaches that would be worth going after, like with like genuine interest. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. I don't know how interested he would be in the job, but I think Eli, you look at what he's been doing at Missouri. You look at the fact that he's been able to recruit very well at Missouri. Like, Missouri is a very good program and it has financial backing, but it's also in the SEC, where it's got to compete with Alabama, Georgia, Texas now, Oklahoma, all these schools that it's probably going to have a more difficult time. Like, if you go to Penn State, you don't have as many obstacles in your way, and maybe you can overcome that.
Manny Diaz?
No, I don't think Manny Diaz is meant for these gigs. I think Manny Diaz at Duke is like a perfect spot for Manny Diaz. Because Manny Diaz has some faults on game day that fly under the radar when he's coaching at Duke. If Manny Diaz was coaching at Penn State against Ohio State, those faults would be seen pretty quickly, and they would be very vocal about it, and it would not be happy. What if does Brian Kelly restart the clock?
I mean, there are worse places to land on a lateral move, restart the clock, than Penn State. Especially to your point about, and I'm not trying to go all in on him, but like, especially for somebody who just brought the recruiting operation. You mentioned about how he brought the whole operation into the modern era. I wasn't inside that building before. I wasn't very familiar with what was going on. Thankfully, I can plead. I knew nothing about what was going on with the previous regimes, but James Franklin's recruiting operation you've got a Penn State building and community and university that knows what it takes to at least field a championship roster. So Brian Kelly should step in and be able to have everything running. There's worse places.
Let me ask you this hypothetical, because the one job's open and the one ain't yet, but it might be. You're Lane Kiffin. You have the choice of Florida or Penn State. Which one do you take?
Am I Lane Kiffin?
Yeah, you're Lane Kiffin.
Florida.
I think you're right. I think Lane Kiffin prefers that lifestyle down there, but I do feel like going to Florida, he'd be in a similar situation to the one he is in now.
That may be true, but there's something to be said for all those like meetings, the spring meetings and the like ballrooms. And we make fun of the what happens when they get all these athletic directors and coaches, but I kind of feel like he runs that room. I mean, if he just switches a polo out, he's still Lane. If he goes to the Big Ten, that's a whole new culture he's got to get used to him, and that he's got to get used to. An intra-SEC move means Lane can keep being Lane all the time. So that's why I would say Florida. If Florida was open, if Lane doesn't decide to stay at Ole Miss, Rebels fans.
There's been some chatter in the chat. I don't know, because the way the season's going for them the last few weeks, but you're Syracuse. Is Fran Brown, like, how far down the list would Fran Brown be for Penn State? Because we know he's going to be able to recruit the crap out of that program being there. And you know that, like, just personality-wise, I think he could handle that job. Although I don't know. Fran might be a little rough around the edges for Penn State.
Yeah.
But Syracuse, it could be a similar situation to Manny. Fran's a little honest, and I don't know how that would play all the time.
F-bombs at regular Wednesday media availability.
Yeah. Like, in a conversation with me off air, I think we'd get along. It'd be perfect, because I swear a lot more when I'm not on this show. But I just feel like I think Fran doesn't have the same filter I do.
Yeah. Fran with sitting up there with the university like president and the provost and a bunch of board people. He's like, "You seen this offensive line? They're effing nice."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Urban Meyer,
No, come on, guys.
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen, he's not the top of the list, but he'll be on the list. I think he's somebody you interview. And if a couple guys say no, I don't know if it would. I don't feel like if I'm a Penn State fan and we hire Dan Mullen, as much as I love Dan Mullen, I don't know if I'm super thrilled about it.
I mentioned I did not have this person in mind when I mentioned the prompt, but now it seems to be one of the answers. I said, who, if you're sitting out there, you would really hope if the search ends up getting to you? Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden. I mean,
Al should be consulted. Al should be interviewed.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, Al, how's it? Wait, hello? He said he's on his way to the airport. He's already wearing the tie.
Al, no, we didn't offer you. No. This is going to be awkward.
How about this? I'll just sit outside and you just tell me, okay? Because, I mean, I was especially thinking about the current state of the Cincinnati Bengals and just how miserable that must be. Hi, you're the defensive coordinator for the team who's lost its star quarterback and, like, its offense is falling apart. It's a tough season for Al.